And thank you to everyone who's taken the time today to join in. My name is Steve Woodard. I am a solutions architect here at AWS. I'm located in Tampa, Florida. I've been at AWS now for 3 years, but in IT, I've been in IT over 25 years now, so I've been in here quite some time. And the great thing about my time at AWS is I've had a great privilege of helping our customers move forward and really advance and also accelerate in their cloud journey. So today I really want to focus on the topic around how you can leverage cloud networking and security. This tends to be a topic that we really combine together. We can't really talk about security unless we talk about networking, so I'm going to really try to combine these two. Really specifically, I want to talk about a service we launched at reInvent called Network Firewall. And really this is a feature that's going to help really every customer, regardless of size, really help you add that extra layer of both security, orchestration, and also the ability to remediate certain security findings now within your environment. Now, this of course is going to help you whether you're running hybrid networking, hybrid security, whether or not you're running a few apps on-prem or in the cloud, or even if you're all in the cloud. This could be if, in fact, if you're running complex architecture such as containers and microservices, 2-tier, 3-tier applications, doesn't matter. This is really something that's going to certainly help open up some options for every single customer as they look to strengthen their specific security posture, as they really look to protect themselves in this kind of this ever-connecting world, both from bad actors, malicious threats. We know there are millions and millions of them out there. Really today, this talk is going to focus at a very, very high level. I'm going to dive deep into some reference architectures and really kind of about how we see these various architecture methods being deployed and using various methods that we have within inside this feature as well. So without further ado, here we go. So the question I get a lot from customers is around this question is, how are other customers approaching security today? And really, there are 4 main strategies around how customers work on strengthening and leveraging cloud to really kind of leverage security to really help meet those business objectives, right? So we've got some customers that are leveraging things that are homegrown, and these are typically tool sets that customers have built inside their own organization to really solve specifically very unique business needs. This could be free tools, this could be other tools like Squid proxies, and this could really vary around basically around a certain level of expertise around the networking and security professionals you have within your organization. There's third-party tools out there, and customers are leveraging a lot of third-party tools to help them with on-prem firewall solutions, both on-prem and in the cloud as well. And they want to be able to take this same type of model and still continue to deploy this as well. You've got on-prem, which customers route all their traffic back on-prem from the cloud back on-prem. This is called backhauling, and typically we see this in what we call lollipop design. Or they're leveraging native solutions where customers can really leverage native security tools, or they're looking to leverage native services or managed services that really can help them secure those resources in there. Every approach tends to have its own unique set of challenges, both with homegrown, third-party, and on-prem. Every approach is going to have its own level of complexity. So let's just say if you're doing on-prem appliances, you're going to basically backhaul all of that traffic, and then you're going to do some sort of inspection and detection around that as well. The downside to that is, of course, we see customers start to really increase data transfer costs, and they decrease latency. And then, of course, they get a huge amount of talk on the wire. Whether you're leveraging cloud services, the challenge there, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. Customers love the feature ability of being able to leverage that, but the learning curve is challenging for networking and security professionals who are typically not accustomed to things such as network or specifically cloud native services around networking and security. So each approach has got its own different dynamic. One of the tools that we launched at reInvent to really kind of help bridge that was a feature called Network Firewall. And this was really meant as a way to simply deploy a network protection layer for everything within inside of a VPC. And this, of course, this service can be set up in just a few clicks. We call this a very easy deployment that you can use this to scale based around network traffic or basically around looking to deploy without managing any additional infrastructure. So a nice feature within Network Firewall is what we had done is we built this to really kind of incorporate and support Suricata compatible rules, which is great because now what you can do is you can now work with most of those Suricata rules right out of the box. So if you think about this with Network Firewall, this is great because now you can bring your own rule set and policies into this service, which really kind of opens it up. If you're not familiar with Suricata, don't worry. This is a relatively kind of a tool that's been around since about 2009. It's a very mature service. It's very robust around specifically around the network threat detection engine. And really what it does well is it really has IDS, which is intrusion detection system, and IDPS, or IDS and IPS, really around security monitoring. Now, when we talk about the network rules engine within Network Firewall, this is very flexible because when we say flexible, it really gives you the chance to really input your own rules, or you can provide a set that's already been basically predefined based upon specific type of rule formats, as well as engine integrations. That really gives you a way to have this, what we call kind of a managed intelligence feed. And the great thing about this is that it will help you build upon the existing policies and specifically the network rules that you can then centrally apply across your VPCs and your accounts as well. So that's also something I'm going to be touching on a little bit later, as well as around kind of how does this scale. So if you think about this, the way I simply tell customers is that you don't have to worry about building or maintaining additional network infrastructure, security infrastructure. Network Firewall automatically is going to scale with your network traffic, supporting hundreds of thousands of connections to really give you that high availability with no additional customer investment when security infrastructure, or even if in fact, if you need to just leverage our network experts, that's a great feature about it as well. Really kind of what's underneath here is that, again, I mentioned this is a flexible rule engine and really kind of helps you build those custom firewalls to protect specific workloads across thousands of different environments. And these, of course, can be rules that you can define based around specific ports. This could be ports or protocols. This could be IP version 4 addresses. This could be fully qualified domain names. The main benefit here is that Network Firewall is going to really help support, or one additional thing is going to help support is, if you're writing rules in Snort or Suricata, it gives you that ability to really kind of create those customized rules, bring those in. You can work with them specifically based around that network traffic. And this could be basically around packet size, or if you're looking to do things such as pipe or byte match pattern. A nice feature that we see here is that we now can integrate this with CloudWatch logs. So if you're leveraging CloudWatch logs for things such as EC2 instances, CloudTrail, this gives you an additional feature that now what you can do is integrate these together. And what it can do is those log files can start to notify you when certain thresholds are met. So maybe you're looking at certain thresholds or even metrics such as maybe dropped packets, or maybe you're looking at packets passed. Or maybe you're looking at things such as received packet counts to a specific environment as well. And another nice feature within integrating it within CloudWatch metrics is that you now can also apply some customized dimensions. And these are things that you can create, such as, all right, so where are those packets coming from within inside a specific availability zone? Or let's just say you wanted to look at it, where are they coming from within a specific region? Or let's just say the rules engine itself here is that, let's just say we want to see what rules engine has processed that packet. And then we want to see whether that value is either stateful or stateless, which is another nice feature as well. So it really gives you that true insight into really kind of what's coming into the environment itself here. Another nice feature here is, again, with basically those dimensions, as well as that you can define specific rule actions that can help you define what type of action you want to take when certain packet patterns are matched as well. So that gives you the ability to have that remediation built into automated security detection. So again, really getting started with Network Firewall is very easy. Again, you go into the console, you can build this out, you can create or import your existing firewall rules, you can group them into policies, and then you can apply them to the VPCs that you essentially want to protect. The great thing about this is that Network Firewall pricing is based upon the number of firewalls that are deployed and basically the amount of traffic that it's inspection. or that it's inspected. So really is that, you look at it at, a number of deployments. There's no upfront commitments. You simply pay for what you use. That's the great thing about network firewall, is that there's no commitment. And another thing is that the network firewall infrastructure is managed by AWS. So this is a feature where now we will automatically scale this for you on your behalf based around your specific network traffic. And this supports hundreds of thousands of connections. So the benefit here to customers is that you don't have to worry about building, maintaining additional network security infrastructure. So really kind of diving in a little bit deeper here, really nice feature within network firewall. It gives you visibility, right? So we've really struggled sometimes with networking and security visibility. This gives you the ability to look not only just visibly, but look at control, specifically at VPC to VPC traffic. So that way you can logically separate those networks. And then if in fact, if you wanted to look at, let's just say, for example, I'm hosting sensitive applications, or let's just say these could be line of business resources. Network Firewall also provides you with a way for you to start basically filtering, such as URL, IP-based, or whether or not you're looking at domain-based outbound or domain-based outbound traffic filtering to really help meet those additional compliance requirements. Maybe you also want to look at it to say, I want to meet compliance requirements and stop potential data leaks. Or let's say I also wanted to block communication of known malware hosts. This is a really nice feature to have, because now if in fact, if you are using more of the advanced tool set, such as specifically things such as Transit Gateway or Direct Connect, you can now integrate these together to basically kind of build this way. So you can also filter inbound internet traffic using access control lists as well. So again, later in the deck, what I'll do is I'll get through to some reference architectures about how this can be deployed. A lot of nice features within Network Firewall here. We talk about the ability to basically have high availability and automated scaling. We talk about the feature of having basically a state firewall. So this could be, you wanted to look at things such as source destination IP address, port and protocol. We can also use this to filter common protocols without any specific port destination or specification. So not just TCP, UDP traffic filtering, which is really nice to have. You can also leverage it for web filtering as well. So let's just say you wanted to look at specifically fully qualified domain names. We talk about the alerting and flow logs as well. So let's say, for example, you wanted to have it pass through and look at traffic flows that are in one direction, and then those traffic logs can also be stored within S3. You could fire them into Kinesis data stream as well, or you can basically store them in CloudWatch. But the main benefit here is we talk about this management and visibility. So really a nice feature to have here is the way that you can start to look at, as you scale your environment, as VPCs across your accounts, across organizations, that allows you to really kind of group these into a consistent manager. And another nice feature you can also have is a feature called rule management and customization. So let's say, for example, I wanted to kind of create my own customized rules, and I want to run those against a kind of a Suricata compatible rules engine, specifically on in-house applications based around custom rule detection or custom development, or even if in fact I wanted to bring in some additional rules from other third-party vendors and some open source platforms. When we launched this feature back in November of 2010, we also talked about our launch partners as well here. Again, we have a wide range of ecosystem and partners here that really integrate nicely within Network Firewall, and Network Firewall integrates with these launch partners here. So whether or not we're looking at other third-party orchestration tools, let's say we're doing log exports to analytics, we can still take this and still match these together, where we can really get a great pairing of threat intelligence feed. This could be from customers who want to just leverage their existing managed rule providers. We simply provide that plug and play ability to basically tie into those third-party engines that allows you to basically import that policy and then look at policy orchestration as a service. So if you're looking at it from a stance of, well, we like our current solution, can we integrate that with Network Firewall? Yes, you can. That's another great feature about this as well. So whether or not you're looking for more visibility, you want to look at firewall logs, you want to look at security event information, you want to basically have that data sent to maybe a third-party analytics solution, such as maybe you want to look at a certain scene. We'll get to some of those additional topics here in a little bit here. When we get to the deployment of Network Firewall, there are multiple different type of deployment models available within Network Firewall. So let's take a look at a couple different ones here. We've got a feature here called distributed security inspection. This is going to really, the right model of the deployment is going to depend upon your specific use case. What we typically see here is that we see that there are multiple different models for how you can deploy this. One way is to leverage something called a distributed network firewall. And really the benefit here, if we look at this here, is that we've got a network firewall, and what it's doing is it's basically dropping a network firewall into each VPC that requires protection. So each VPC is protected individually, and then that blast radius is simply reduced through what we call VPC isolation. Now, each VPC does not require connectivity to the other VPC or to the transit gateway. It can act on its own. But the great thing here is that basically the network firewall can have its own firewall policy. Or you can simply share a policy through a common rule group, which we call collectible items. And those items can be basically shared across multiple firewalls here. And this essentially allows each network firewall to be managed independently, which also reduces the possibility of misconfiguration and also will help limit that scope of impact. Another feature that we see here, so another common configuration we see customers implementing is, let's say, for example, they wanted to centralize their security into a single VPC within a network firewall. We call this a centralized security inspection. So what we're seeing here is that we're looking at it. So we've got some inspection happening for both east to west or VPC to VPC, and we've also got north-south traffic. So ingress, egress, and then ingress from on-prem as well. So really the common deployment model here within the centralized security inspection here, the requirement is using AWS Transit Gateway. And the Transit Gateway is essentially going to act as a network hub. And that network hub is going to really just simplify all the connectivity between all those VPCs and on-prem. So if we use the Transit Gateway, we're going to also basically leverage that, because now that Transit Gateway has inter-region peering capabilities that allows you to connect to the AWS backbone. So if I look at this a little bit deeper here, what we're seeing here is that each Transit Gateway is going to have a dedicated VPC route. And what we're going to do here is we're going to provide a dedicated isolation VPC. This inspection VPC is very important because what it's doing here is we see it's connecting of two subnets, each in one AZ. So now we've got high availability and fault tolerance built in. And then we've got a single subnet dedicated specifically to a firewall endpoint subnet. And that second, and the second one in a dedicated VPC transit gateway attachment here. So that's very, very important here. So now you've got high availability, fault tolerance built into this type of architecture. Another way that we can look at this here is when we bring in, we start looking at more of a distributed type of reference architecture. The distributed reference architecture here, again, is still building upon the same type of methodology we saw previously here. So if we look at this from a deployment perspective here, we deploy network firewall into each VPC. That's going to require its own level of protection, and then each VPC is protected, again, from basically to reduce that blast radius here. The main benefit here is that each network firewall can have its own policy, or again, like I said, we can share this across through customized rule, or share these out through customized rule policy or rule groups, which we call really usable collections. And again, we're looking at this to say, all right, so as I build out and scale my environment here, is that I want to be able to drop a network firewall into each VPC and then attach those to my internet gateway or transit gateway. That's a really nice feature to have. Let's say, for example, we have another scenario where, let's say you needed to protect traffic between a workload and multiple availability zones running behind the internet gateway. Now, since we basically can now do this here, so now we've got resources in a private subnet. So now we can bring this in and we can now basically route that traffic for each protected subnet, specifically looking at a firewall endpoint and each corresponding availability zone. And now we can look to see if we've got perfect traffic symmetry that can basically return that traffic back to the right firewall endpoint. And if we're looking to do this, we can do this where it can help maintain stateful traffic inspection. So that was distributed. Let's take a look a little bit more at some centralized different types, what we call centralized reference architectures, using a centralized deployment model. Hit on this in a couple earlier slides. Again, we talk about this as a consistent, we have to have the transit gateway as a prerequisite here. But again, the main benefit here is that each VPC is going to have its own network firewall dropped into it, and each subnet's dedicated to one firewall endpoint. The second one's dedicated to the transit gateway attachment. And this is a great example of kind of how we now have this perfect pairing of services across multiple availability zones within inside the inspection VPC. So another scenario here is, let's say, for example, we wanted to look at return traffic from a firewall endpoint as a single instance. So now we bring the transit gateway back in. Now we have the route table, which is going to have a default route towards the transit gateway. And then that traffic is returned to the transit gateway in the same availability zone after it's been inspected through the network firewall. So you could have a dedicated inspection VPC in a centralized approach that really, or it could be in a different region. The benefit of the inspection VPC is that it really gives the network firewall both source and destination IP visibility. That way, both source and destination IP sources are preserved. Now, the one really nice thing about this here, one thing to note about this configuration that you need to ensure that your firewall policies and your rule groups have enough rule group capacity to really allow for additional growth. And I think that the maximum right now, the maximum number of stateful rule groups is about 50, and then the maximum number of stateless rule groups is also 50 as well. But again, these are limits that you can always have modified and increased by submitting a support ticket back to AWS. You can always have the service limits increase as well. So let's say, for example, here I wanted to look at traffic between two VPCs protected by basically the network firewall. I'm really essentially this model is covering kind of that inspection from east to west traffic. So let's say, for example, you got a VPC in the same or different accounts. This could be in different regions, and you're also leveraging the transit gateway here. So again, we got a transit gateway. These are route tables that are showing basically kind of basically the firewall route table and a spoke route table within the same transit gateway. And really what that's going to do is that's really going to ensure that that traffic between the VPC is passing through the inspection VPC. And then that way, all the spoke VPCs associated with that spoke route table also have a route towards the inspection VPC attachment. And this way, of course, it's just great because now what you can also do is you can also now leverage multiple regions. So you can also leverage the transit gateway inter-region peering feature, where now you can also bring in remote, basically features from remote AWS regions, and they're treated as additional spokes. And we've definitely got a lot of reference architectures posted out there on the internet under our AWS blogs. It really goes into a lot more detail and multiple various configuration methods on this topology. All right, so let's just take a look and look at a couple of more features around this service, specifically on the topic around firewall policy management and how that looks. So really, again, everything is managed very nice through a single pane of glass. The user interface with inside the AWS Management Console. Essentially, what you do is you have a series of rule groups, and those rule groups are collected into policies that you can deploy across your infrastructure. And it really helps you scale, because if we're looking at a way to enforce consistent policies and look at enforcing policies in a hierarchical manner, network firewall really does help provide that view of, or let's say aggregated view of, really that policy and that policy compliance across accounts that allows you to remediate, or allows you the ability to be able to do some things such as automation of the remediation process. So as new accounts and additional networking components are created within your account or inside your organization, Firewall Manager really makes it easy, because what it's going to do is it's going to bring those into compliance by enforcing a common set of firewall policies. This way, as an organization grows, you can now start to have firewall policy management enforcement at basically almost at scale that has just never been seen before. Another nice feature here is that you can pair these with inside your AWS organization. So if you're part of an AWS organization, that allows you to basically kind of basically collect a bunch of accounts under a central hierarchical manner. You can now share those firewall policies using Resource Access Manager or RAM with inside the console. And all you have to do to share a firewall policy group is you just simply add it to the resource share. If you're not familiar with RAM, no worries. It's just simply a way for you to create a resource which you can then share to other accounts in your organization, which gives you a nice way to just kind of have a way to essentially manage those firewall policies and then share those out. So where is network firewall available today? Currently, Network Firewall is available in the following regions: US East, US West, Europe, specifically Ireland. And because it is still a very new service, we just launched back in November, we will roll this out to additional regions. Be sure to check out the AWS news blogs for more details as well. All right, so that's definitely a lot of information that definitely can get a little bit more deeper here. Which one is going to be the right feature for me to use? I always say it's going to depend upon what specific use case you have, what type of security you need, whether you need it per application, per VPC, or per the account level. I always like to make sure customers understand there is definitely a wide scope of services available out there to solve specifically their business needs and their use cases. Of course, this matrix here will kind of help kind of provide some visibility and clarity as to kind of when you would want to use one, whether it's VPC security groups, network ACLs, AWS WAF, or network firewall. Definitely a comparison out there as to kind of which one you're looking at specifically, at which flows are protected, or maybe which OSI layer you're looking and what features you're looking to have as well. Just got maybe a couple more slides here, and then I'll definitely move on here. Definitely a couple of partner integrations example here. I want to give a call out to one or two of our partners here, specifically Splunk. You know, again, as a network firewall partner, Splunk is going to help us, or especially help a lot of customers provide a way to mechanize a way to just simply monitor and secure. And really just kind of look at maybe if we're looking at ingesting data into network firewall. So let's say, for example, we wanted to do some network firewall alerting and logs, and we want to ingest those into Splunk. Customers can really now leverage their existing Splunk environment and existing security practices and really give them ability to have a complete view of their whole security posture, really just leveraging Splunk. So it really works well with these existing solutions here. Another one I want to call out here is Trend Micro. So again, if you're leveraging the Trend Micro Cloud One, this really enables customers to continue to build upon a way to block malware or restrict access to malicious URLs. And these integrations, of course, can be powered by that Trend Micro, whether you're looking at specifically IPS rules. It really makes it simple because what you can do is now you can build upon this to basically have that additional layer of protection. And a benefit here, again, I always like to tell customers is that it doesn't require you to build any additional infrastructure management. So if you've already got this, you can now integrate this in here as well. All right, so that was definitely a lot. There are definitely a lot more articles out there. This topic can get very, very deep within a span of about 27 minutes. I was just able to touch on just a few things, but I certainly hope that I've been able to plant the seed about how you could leverage network firewall for both a scalable and secure solution for existing resources in the cloud. Again, there's a wealth of knowledge out there, a wealth of documentation out there to help you build upon the knowledge of how to deploy these. Be sure to check out our AWS.amazon.com network firewall. There's a lot of information out there to help you build upon that, and definitely look at the Getting Started guide. It's very, very simple to deploy. You can basically get one stood up in just a matter of moments here.